Look at all these adventures. All of these stories written by people who worked very hard to bring out the Doctor. Colin Baker did absolutely his best to bring out this magnificent character. A character which a lot of people seem to underestimate, considering him the bad Doctor. But it's never been like that for me. For some reason, I feel a connection. For some reason, I feel like there is some sort of hidden gem within this incarnation that no other Doctor can bring out. I am here today to confront this adventure, to finally bookend this era that has been so personal and so close to me. Today I will be finishing the last adventure. And today I'm going to see how it all ends. In August 1983, Colin Baker was announced as the sixth incarnation of the British icon The Doctor from the TV show Doctor Who. Taken after the role from Peter Davison, who had been in the show for 3 years prior to that, Colin Baker saw very hard times during his era of the show. Making his first appearance at the end of the Caves of Androzani and making his full appearance in The Twin Dilemma, which was the last story of that season. Colin Baker found himself with a script which made him unlikable, uncharismatic, and most of all, a Doctor which a lot of people didn't seem to like. This would have left a massive gap between Colin Baker's first full series as the Doctor. When his next season came to air, the viewing figures suffered dearly. Colin Baker's wasn't a very popular Doctor, especially with his last lines in his first story were, "I am the Doctor whether you like it or not," coming up with the images that this Doctor isn't for the fans, it wasn't for anyone, and that the reason why this Doctor was made the way he is was just to interrogate and anger people. This was due to some mix-up and some conflicts behind the scenes drama between series producer John Nathan Turner and script editor Eric Sadewood. Due to the struggling of production, especially now that Michael Grade had become head of drama down at the BBC, somebody who has been actively vocal on his hatred for the beloved sci-fi drama, put the show in cancellation. However, due to a prediction of backlash, the show was actually stalled in a hiatus for, I believe it was 18 months. During this time, many fans got really concerned with the show, and many projects came underway during this fragile year. There was the audio drama Split Slip, written by Eric Sadewood, starring Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. There was also the beloved music video, Doctor in Distress. When the show came back, it had half of its production time cut, with only 13 episodes, same to Colin Baker's first full season. However, the episodes have gone back to a 25-minute format rather than the 45-minute of Colin Baker's first season. After the low viewing figures of The Trial of the Time Lord, it was decided that the main reason for Doctor Who's stunt in popularity was the handling of the Sixth Doctor. It came to this attention that Michael Grade gave an opportunity to John Nathan Turner. he either cancels the show, ending Doctor Who on that season of Trial of the Time Lord, or he gets rid of the star, making him only come back for the first full story before getting regenerated and replaced with a brand new actor. John Nathan Turner really wasn't happy with this prospect. However, he understood that he had no choice and he called Colin Baker up. Colin Baker obviously wasn't happy with this, decided not to return for the next one story. He gave the BBC an offer. He either returns for the full season where he would regenerate in the last story, or he won't return at all in fear that he might lose some other projects along the way. That was the last that Colin Baker ever heard from the BBC until he watched the episode Time and the Rani to see that somebody else was dressed up like him in the story, Sylvester McCoy. I state this because Colin Baker has had a very rough time as the Doctor. He had many behind-the-scenes drama that infected his the way his Doctor was portrayed on screen, and the idea to make this Doctor actively arrogant and and someone to the audience might not like really backfired against the production of the series. However, I want to state this because time has been kind to Colin Baker. He's been beloved by fans, both old and new, and with Big Finish audio dramas giving him an era of the show after Trial of the Time Lord, Big Finish were allowed to develop the character even further to the point where he's much more in line with the core Doctors. Colin Baker then decided, after viewing Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, who had very similarities to his Doctor, a Doctor who's much more darker and untwined from normal human emotions and is to bring out the darker natures of the Time Lord to a version where the audience isn't sure if the Doctor's a good guy or not. And to see it praised so well, Colin Baker decided that it was time for him to record his final regeneration story with Big Finish audio dramas producing the audio adventures. The result is The Last Adventure, a box set containing 4 stories, each featuring a different companion of Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor. 3 of them are audio exclusive, with the last one being Mel, who appeared in the story The Terror of the Vervoids and The Ultimate Foe. However, from her point of view, timelines and shenanigans means that her audio drama introduction was actually appeared in the extended media, mainly audio dramas and books. So by extension, despite appearing in the TV series first, she's technically a companion of the book and audios. And we come to the conclusion of this story. Here we are at last, The Brink of Death, written by Nicholas Briggs, to conclude the Sixth Doctor's adventures and to see him fight the Valiard for the final time. Okay, that's enough of the seriousness. I don't know why I did that. Here we are at last. This is the final story to feature the Sixth Doctor as the current Doctor. Very cool. This came out, I believe it was in 2016. It doesn't say. Like I said, the reason this was made is because Colin Baker saw how much the fans loved Peter Capaldi's Doctor, despite his Doctor doing very similar things to what he and the producers were trying to do with his Doctor way back in the 80s. And it kind of felt like it filled him, you know, it kind of like said, right, that's me, that's my Doctor complete. So he's decided to finally record a audio drama depicting his final regeneration. This is part of the Ultimate Adventure, which is a thing. And finally, we're talking about the fourth story, and it's the fourth one we're talking about. Finally in line with the box set, so that's really cool. I've already talked about this as well, but as you probably guessed, I made my own DVD cover. Now, again, this is one of those cases where I couldn't find any on the internet, so I've made my own, and I've actually designed the cover, and I put that up. That is easily one of my best works. Look at the colour, look at the way it shines off on people. That is just amazing, and there's a spine if anyone is interested. The Brink of Death, what a great title that is. And that's the end, that's the back. You can see that's clearly mine, but I made that. There's not a lot of text. And there's Colin Baker and Michael Jason in the roles of their TV counterparts. That's really cool. So, what is this story about? What can conclude the final adventure of the Sixth Doctor? The story actually starts with a pre-credit scene that reminds me a lot of an epic James Bond film, as we see the Doctor and Mel trying to escape from a particular planet. Something like Zaron 8, which is a very hostile planet. The Doctor was trying to take Mel to Zalos 9, which is a much more peaceful planet. The TARDIS got one number mistaken, and right off the bat there's a lot of action. The Doctor and Mel are running away. Their ship that they're on blows up as they take no, they don't take jetpacks. What's it called? Parachutes, that is. And it just so happened to land right next to the TARDIS, and even the Mel and the Doctors kind of laugh about this and have and just enjoy life, basically, showing that, you know, at this point in their timeline, the Sixth Doctor is completely content, and that him and Mel's relationship are a much more stronger, much more solid. However, something raised happens as, whilst the Doctor's in the TARDIS, something plays up with the console, and the Doctor goes underneath the console to investigate, and sparks, and something flash happens. Melody asks the Doctor if he's alright, and in a familiar voice, the Valiard speaks. "Oh yes, Mel, I am perfectly fine." And Mel starts going, "Hold on, something's wrong, is it?" It's probably just me. "Let's go, Doctor." And that's our pre-credits scene, with the Valiard taking the Sixth Doctor's place. That right there sets up the entire mood of this story. This is a epic, every meaning of the word, an epic. This is a story which is it feels like a very cinematic story. It's got a lot of action, a lot of tenses, a lot of music. The score, I believe this is a Howard Carter score. Never say on the back. But the music is absolutely incredible. They even have the music that's from the trailer. Anyway, the Doctor finds himself caught up in a particular room where he gets contacted by this woman on the other side, who states that she is actually part of the CIA, the Celestial Intervention Agency of the Time Lords. She is a Time Lord. And she states that she's kind of got this strange accent. I believe she said Yorkshire. She's got a Yorkshire accent because she went to Earth when she was younger. And she basically becomes a surrogate companion of this adventure. The story starts off with her and the Doctor trying to work out what's going on. The Doctor actually has been transplanted to the Matrix, and she initially believes that he's a glitch. But the Doctor slowly convinces her that he's real, and he escapes out of the Matrix, proving that he is a real construct. He also tries to prove that he is the Doctor, a real entity. But when she looks on her tablet on who the Doctor is, specifically the 6th incarnation, she looks at the screen and finds that it doesn't look like the same person. And when the Doctor looks at the screen, he realises that's the Valeyard. This character also states that the Doctor is dying. That something's happened to him that's killing him, and he's only got 6 minutes. But she has done something revolving around time, which is slowing the process, and it's stalled it completely. Whilst this is going on, the Valeyard, pretending to be the Doctor, as Mel thinks that he is the Doctor, go onto a planet which has a small little village and a massive volcano, to which the Valeyard describes he has a little error in it. He wants to go up there and try and sort things out. And so he goes up there and tampers. The Doctor and this girl, this Time Lord he's with, I can't remember her name, it is like Gendra or something like that. She tracks the Valeyard to this village. We get a scene in which Mel is talking to a soothsayer of this village who's trying to sell her stuff, and she's stating this like, this person that you've travelled with, you don't know who he is, don't you? Would you like to know? I could tell you about your curiosities. And Mel states that that she's not that curious. She's happy with the Doctor as he is. But the soothsayer's like, I'll tell you something for free. You're telling yourself a lie. You want to know as badly as anybody else. I don't know if that ties into anything. It clearly doesn't revolve anything around this story. I don't know who this character is, whether she returns or not, I don't know. But it does help set up this whole Doctor Who feeling that will be prominent through the 7th Doctor era. Mel then bumps into a character who states that the 6th Doctor is following her. She describes this guy with this colourful coat is following her, but Mel doesn't seem to remember anything. She looks back and sees this guy with the colourful coat, and she says that she doesn't recognise him. If she knew anybody with that coat, she won't forget, proving that Mel's memories have been completely altered by the Valeyard. And so this character then goes up to the Doctor, revealing that this character is the Time Lord agent that's working with the Doctor. The Doctor then finds a little, like a craft, a little like spy camera, to go up to the caves and to see what the Valeyard is doing. The Valeyard just seems to be standing near an active volcano, and something metal appears out of it, and the Valeyard heads back into the TARDIS. Back down, and the Doctor confronts him just outside the TARDIS, just after Mel has gone in, and he's like, "This is ridiculous! Stop acting up." The Valeyard initially denies that he knows who the Doctor is, but before he closes the door, the 6th Doctor is like, "I am the Doctor," and the Valeyard's like, "Not, only for 6 minutes," and then suddenly something happens. And time reverts in a way where the Doctor appears back into the Matrix, where he is freed again by this girl who states that the timing of this thing that's killing the Doctor has now proceeded. So now the Doctor doesn't have 6 minutes left. He has, I think she said, 4 or 3 minutes left. The Doctor also starts feeling really cold, which will be a part of the process of him dying. And after he reveals, right, we've got to take this up higher. We're going to have to talk to your superiors and get them to talk to the council to try and stop it. However, this character, the girl, reveals that while she was trying to rescue the Doctor to stop this deterioration, of the Doctor. She actually broke into some secret files of High Time Lord Society. And she basically tells the Doctor that the Valeyard is a future manifestation of all the Doctor's darker selves. And the Doctor's like, yes, I know that. But then this girl is like, he was part of a Time Lord's Black Ops weapon to alter times to an unlimited effect. So basically the Valeyard can just go back in time and alter anything without any worries to the timeline, essentially. Which kind of scares the Doctor, and he tries to talk to the higher-ups, only for him to revert back into his predicament and gets caught up in this, back into the Matrix. What you might find a bit disappointing in this story is that for those of you who are fans of Mel, played by Bonnie Lanford, who Big Finish has done a lot of work, so I'm told. I've only listened to The Wrong Doctors as far as I'm recording this, in terms of audio appearances. Mel doesn't have anything to do in terms of plot. She doesn't seem to be active at all, and just seems to be along for the ride, essentially. The Doctor tracks the Valeyard to a particular moment in time and space, and when he takes this girl's TARDIS to go to this planet, he looks around and realizes he's been here before. This is the planet of the wolves from the Red House, and it's here where he clicks that the Valeyard was involved in those situations, that he captured the lobotomy psychic machine, and that this girl and that the Valeyard is caught up in this. The Valeyard then confronts the Doctor and basically states that for once in their life, the Doctor is actually ahead of the Valeyard. They've basically swapped moments in time. So actually at this point in the timeline, the Sixth Doctor is now the furthest, and the Valeyard doesn't actually know what's going on. The Doctor states that this must have been you at the Red House, and this is also your main plot, this main part of you from the theatre referencing the stage fright. But the Valeyard states that in his personal future, this is happening. This is not happening to him yet. So he's kind of glad to know that his future self will succeed in their plans to capture this psychic device and use it to capture as much of the Doctor's soul that he can sustain himself for a particular moment in time. It's also here that the Valeyard explains that he's planning to take the Doctor's timeline, where then at this point he can go into the Matrix and become the supreme power of all Time Lord history. He will become every single Time Lord, and to an extent that he will become Rassilon himself, probably Valeyard's biggest part of the plot. And it's here where the Doctor gets reverted back into the Matrix again. At this point he's only got 2 minutes left in his lifespan, and the Doctor is freezing up incredibly cold. He tries to figure out into the way of the TARDIS to try and prevent the Valeyard from even taking his place by meeting the Valeyard prior to the body swap. Then the girl starts laughing and the Doctor's confused, and suddenly she's like, "You never understood, did you?" And a beam sound reveals that she was the Valeyard this time. And the Doctor is completely shaken by this. He really was getting along with this character to the point where he actually refuses to believe that the Valeyard was disguised as her this entire time, that she never existed. The Valeyard actually denies him the knowledge on whether she was completely made up or whether she was a real person and the Valeyard took her place at one point in the timeline. That's a really great twist. This character was such a nice, likeable character. The Doctor states, was kind of a little bit of obvious, but especially when the Doctor states that she reminded him of himself, and that obviously in Time of the Rani she wasn't there. And the Doctor basically gives her the opportunity to become a companion, offering her a chance to on board his TARDIS. And the Valeyard basically laughs at him and reveals his true motives, how he did all this, how he's going to take over the Doctor. Essentially, the Valeyard has done something so that the planet that they were on with the volcano, it was about to be destroyed. However, the Valeyard saved them, and they were absolutely glad of this. They were absolutely grateful. This means that the Valeyard had the potential to basically use them, and they are a psychic eating creatures that eat off the brainwaves of others. And what he has done is that he's gone into an aspect of the Sixth Doctor, placing it inside the nuclei of the TARDIS's brain. This means that these creatures were feeding off the Sixth Doctor. So when the Valeyard was replacing him in the timeline, the Sixth Doctor's brain was getting eaten up away, so that the Sixth Doctor was essentially slowly dying. The Sixth Doctor is so distorted by this whole thing, this whole affair, that he decides to do the unthinkable. He decides to go and to revert his own timeline. He picks a point before the Doctor and Mel were heading off to the planet that we saw them right at the start of the story. The Doctor mentions in the recording that they were going to head to the planet Lacursha. However, because of some deadly radiation there, he refused not to go. And the Doctor decides to basically put Mel at risk, to put himself at risk. The future Doctor, the one that we've been following, sends the nuclei a psychic message which will bounce back into the younger Doctor, basically without him knowing it, sending him to Lacursha, completely changing the timeline forever, to the point where this older Doctor and the Valeyard are now trapped inside the Matrix, saving the day. And here we are, here we go. The Sixth Doctor basically risks everything, including himself. He knows he's going to die. He knows that that his morals, the fact that he wouldn't risk Mel's life, the fact that he wouldn't risk these creatures' lives, put the universe in a much more dangerous threat, as the Valeyard basically used the Sixth Doctor's morality to persuade him into all of this. And so the Sixth Doctor claims no more. The Valeyard asks the Doctor, it's like, how could you do this, you fool? We're both going to die now. You've basically put Mel's life in danger. And the Sixth Doctor's like, I know. She will be extremely harmed, but she will survive. I might die, on the other hand. I might regenerate, I hope so. If I regenerate, I become a completely new person. And all those creatures that you've put into my mind that will into my way, becoming you, the Valeyard, will cease to exist as I will become a new man. But I'm not 100% sure, I don't know. And the Valeyard is like, but what about your morality? What about all those precious rights and wrongs that you love so dear? And the Sixth Doctor, this version of the Sixth Doctor, proclaims, they died with me. And they both get erased from the timelines in the Matrix, putting a final end to the Valeyard as far as we know. At least it puts him in a limbo state, so that he cannot affect time for the foreseeable future unless he returns again. We never know. So then the story cuts to the Sixth Doctor and Mel in the TARDIS as the Doctor is like, what's going on? We're heading for the planet Lacursha. There's these located particular version of radiation heading straight for the TARDIS like missiles. This knocks Mel out unconscious, and the Doctor proclaims by himself that this radiation is deadly to the Time Lords, and he's not sure. He starts collapsing as he quotes to himself that he hopes that his life was short per appetite or something like that. And he's on the floor dying, and it's a really powerful scene. And he thinks that he's going to die until a voice calls out, "It's far from being all over." The Doctor proclaims, "Who are you? Who said that?" And he can feel something. And we hear the Sixth Doctor go, what's he say? "I feel it. I will regenerate." And then you hear this voice, "Yes, I will regenerate." And then the two voices overlap as they say, "My future is in safe hands." Concluding the Sixth Doctor era. And there you go. That is it. That is the end to the Colin Baker era. Now, the story itself is really good. It could have been a lot better. I mean, it does feel really short, and it feels like this one story should have been its own plot box set on itself. A series-long story arc condensed into an episode, but it's for the idea of putting such a massive concept into a very finite period of time, I think it does the best it can. And I think that despite I think being a bit too short for the plot, it does everything in terms of pacing, in terms of character beats that it can be. And for its time, its time, how long for the episode, I think this is the best we could have possibly asked for the Sixth Doctor. But I also want to talk about the Sixth Doctor now, because he was my last classic Doctor. I didn't grow up with Sylvester McCoy's Seventh Doctor. From my point of view, when I was growing up as a kid, the latest Doctor Who story that I was aware of, at least the ones I watched, was The Ultimate Foe, Colin Baker's last TV appearance, as I used to watch that on VHS as a kid. And I had a massive connection with the Sixth Doctor. As a kid, when he was brash and arrogant, I kind of saw myself in it in a way, that I was brash and arrogant, and I kind of related to the Sixth Doctor. In fact, I didn't know about the whole, the Colin Baker and the Sixth Doctor were very controversial and unpopular selections of the Doctor Who, until I discovered basically the Doctor Who fandom on the internet. But that's the thing. The Sixth Doctor, and specifically Colin Baker, is the living embodiment of a moral message that Doctor Who tells in every incarnation that it has, from the first to the most recent. And Colin Baker is actually living proof of this moral. Other Doctor Who eras might teach us this moral, but it's the Sixth Doctor and Colin that proves that time heals all wounds. Colin Baker was had a massive enthusiasm. In fact, there's an interview with him where he proclaims that he would like to stay on as the Doctor for more than 7 years. He would like to outrun Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor, which is the longest running Doctor, if you don't count the missing years, the wilderness years, as Doctor Who eras. But he had a very harsh time in the show. The production was all over the place. Michael Gray just really hated the show with him in it. And the popularity of Doctor Who at that time was beginning to weaken as people started feeling that this was some sort of cheap children's show. However, time, like I said, has been kind. Colin Baker has been beloved by the fan base. He's been in cons, in Comic-Cons and in conventions where people, his fans, have come up to him and said that he was their doctor and that they couldn't thank him enough for being such an amazing hero, such an amazing icon. Colin Baker himself has also done a lot for charity, especially after the passing of one of his children from a particular disease. And Big Finish also helped define him as a doctor, where it's still in line with his classic, with the way he was portraying it. It's not like he just suddenly played it a completely different way, but they basically smoothened him out, that Colin Baker was able to, in many people's eyes, in my eyes, he was always a fantastic doctor, but the Big Finish stuff allowed him to go up into the pedestals of great doctors. And that just warms my heart that Colin Baker got what he deserved. He got the best out of the situation, to the point where I think Michael Gray would have hated the fact that Colin Baker was so popular. Colin Baker is the Doctor, whether you like it or not. And there you go, that's the Brink of Death and the finale of the Sixth Doctor era. So join me next time, where hopefully I'll be having a guest, which, fingers crossed, as we get introduced to a new incarnation of the Doctor, as we get reunited with the Rani. So I'll see you next time for Time and the Rani. See you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!